Hello, so I am making this video in regards to a coding assignment that was given to me by Lithion. So I just wanted to explain this project just to clarify the assignments. So now I'm doing this based on the requirement given to me. So now the requirement is that I'm going to create a video streaming service. And in this video streaming service, there's going to be subscribers that's going to have a free service for up to 2 hours, and there's going to be paid service based on a tier. There's going to be subscription plans, a catalog of videos that are licensed under different content providers, etc. So these are all the requirements for my project. Now my first assignment is to create a ERD entity relational diagram model where I'm going to use basically these requirements for the project and build a entity relational diagram. So my plan for this is my original drawing schematic for my ERD diagram is, let me get a better picture of this. It's right here, and this was before I even actually modeled it. So this was my original plan to fill the requirements for this project. So if I just pull this out to the side. Okay, so my requirement is that subscribers sign up for free and receive 2 hours of free streaming. Okay, so if I go back to my diagram here, I'll have, okay. So I separated the tasks of my project, and I decided to create a subscriber table where most of my entities will be built from. And subscriber is basically going to be my main core of my table, of all my table relational joins. Subscriber is going to have an ID, so every time a new subscriber is going to sign up for a service, they're going to be given a unique ID key, and this ID key is going to be related to other tables where their information are going to be stored and separated. And basically what I'm looking for on the subscriber is a sign up date, and a sign up date is going to tell me basically when the user has subscribed to the service, and is also going to tell me the time that he has for free trial services. So there's going to be a portion where I'm going to handle through code, which is going to tell me, hey, if the user signed up at this time, then they would, then 2 hours from now when I check his services again, he will his free trial will be expired. So okay, so that is I thought it was important to capture. Then we have subscription type, which is subscription type. I'm thinking is going to be like is going to be either free, prorate 1, prorate 2, prorate 3, and whatever level of service rating that the user is going to use for the service. And then subscription requested is going to be like a Boolean value. I'm thinking that, hey, if the subscriber has requested to upgrade their service, then there should be like a flag that determines in a table that, hey, this user is currently requesting a subscription. Okay, last subscription date I thought would be important because it's going to tell maybe if it's a reoccurring user, or like or like a one-time payment or something like that, you'd be able to tell like, hey, well, when was their last subscription date, So and then subscription status. Subscription status is going to be like active or inactive or expired, something like that. So so from this core table, we're going to have like something like a subscriber info. Subscriber info is going to have ID, name, and email, and this would be a one-to-one relationship, and is going to be linked through the ID and subscriber ID. And basically, every unique user will have one unique name and a unique email. So that is important, I thought. Um, and then we have payment information. So if the user decides to create upgrade their services, they want to input their payment information, but not necessarily is the user going to always input their payment information. So they will have to go through some sort of workflow. So I'm thinking of separating the task, and maybe also this is makes business sense and logical sense in case you want to assign some sort of table permission who wants to see this type of data, maybe the HR department, the billing department, something, and they're going to handle this. So payment information is going to be linked by the ID. They're going to have the billing address. They're going to have payment type. Payment type can be what, checking or credit, and they can have like payment process ID, which I thought would be important. So payment process ID is going to be like a generated GUID, and it's going to be like the ID for your check data or your credit data, check or credit data. So check data, you have checking data. You're going to have the process ID, which is linked with the payment process ID. So I'm thinking that there's a possible one-to-many relationship here, that one payment ID can be related to multiple checks or something like that. Or yeah, so and like, okay, so or maybe it can be one-to-one. Who knows? So routing number and account number for check data, and the credit data is going to be like, account number, CVS number, expiration date, and they're going to be linked through a process ID. So it could be one or the other. Okay, so next is subscription type, right? Subscription type is going to be linked to a reference type, reference table, a reference subscription table, and this is going to retain information about the subscription level, which I call subscription tier. And this tier of service is going to be related to a subscription cost. So it's going to tell you the pricing of your service. Now, the pricing of your service is determined by your details of the service, and your details is going to consist of the content providers that you're going to be linked with, and then the provider's API service. So I'm thinking there's going to be some sort of third-party content service that is going to pretty much like supply you with your content, and they would also have limitations of their services. Now, maybe I could have just added this all into one table for simplicity, but I also just created another reference table that will tell you the limitations of each content provider. So here I'm thinking one to many, because like, one subscription tier might be linked to many content providers. So it's like, tier one may be like one content provider. Tier two might have two content providers, so you may have two rows with two different content providers and content provider API, et cetera, et cetera. So one value may have multiple values. So that's how I model this section right here. So okay, so this is my ERD diagram, and if I go to my SQL, what I did was I actually built the diagram to see if it works, and I have trouble opening the workbench every now and then. So okay, so I'll go ahead and restart that. So basically, what I did was I'll go to that's odd. Have I misplaced my okay, whatever. I'll just open this and just work from scratch. So okay, so I'm gonna okay. Okay, maybe I have caps lock on. That's why. Okay, so now. Okay, so now what I did do was I actually built the entity table. So in here, I saved it. So okay, this is the actual relationship of my database, and it works the same way. If I just maybe if I can zoom into this. Yeah, it's proving to be quite difficult right now. So okay, oh okay, it's right here. All right, so everything is related the way I required it to be. So basically, subscription info is related by ID to subscriber. Subscriber payment info is related to a subscriber ID. Again, check data is related with process ID. Credit data is also related by process ID. Now, subscription type is related by subscription type here, and also is a foreign key, which is what I wanted. Basically, this will retain information of all my subscription type and is going to be referenced in my subscriber. Okay, so reference detail again is going to subscription tier is going to be defined here and is going to be referenced here. Okay, so now same thing, vice versa, like reference content table, content limitation, and then we have subscriber log. And subscriber log is like, I don't know how they want to log the data, so they want to do some sort of data dump for every time content provider is content is requested. Maybe they want to create some sort of reporting for the service, and like maybe monitor what kind of content that they want more of, and will want to invest the company in. So maybe there's some sort of a business intelligence reporting that's going to be done through that. So okay, so I have some suggestions for that as well. So I'll move into that. So this is basically my diagram after creating the tables. So now I'll go into local host. Now for this particular question, the next requirement is that I'm going to write a SQL query, and a SQL query is going to return the top 20 user pairing, and basically they want to see like how many what services are being watched by each user. So basically, and they want their data returned like this: user A, video A, 30 views, and such and such and such. Okay, so now this is a suggestion that I have for this, and one of the suggestions that I was thinking is that, hey, if you want to simplify your query, then you can simply handle a significant portion of this with code, where if I go back to my ERD diagram, like basically, so if I go back to my ERD diagram, basically I have a key cluster in my subscriber log, and I have a times view table. Now, if I create a times view table, what that means is that I'm going to handle this the subscriber log, a portion of it by code, where every time a user requests a content, I will see which content that they pretty much viewed. I will check to see if it exists in this table, and if it does exist, then I'll basically update it and increment the times viewed column. And then if I handle it like that, then basically what that would mean is that you would significantly save memory in your database, because you're reusing the rows, and you're just returning the information that you want. And also, like it is like a improvement in process. It's a process boost, memory boost, process boost, and it's good for querying, I guess, in the future, if we do want to handle it like that. And the other method would be just to do a data dump, where you don't have a times viewed column. You'd basically just have the content requested and the subscriber ID, and whatever that ID, you want to link it to the name or something like that, and it would basically be a data dump. So I have both queries where you can handle both, and basically this would be the handle a portion of it with code, and basically you will get that you see that like you would increment the times view table with code, basically with your backend code, and so you're letting your application increment the times viewed column. If you do it like this, so basically you're selecting your columns, and then basically you're going to order it by the times viewed and descending, so you get the most, the top values, and then you're limiting the query by 20. So my next query would be okay, so this is basically like, hey, if you're just going to do a data dump, if I'm going to do a data dump, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create it with an aggregated function, which is going to basically count my my content view URI, and then I'm going to basically order it afterwards. So once I count the data, so this is going to have some like maybe querying performance issues in the future when your database scales into a large data table. So yeah, so you do get values, and yeah, so like the previous values in here are hard coded, so you're getting different numbers here, but like basically it's doing the same thing. Is just that you will have repetitive rows, and it's basically going to be counted with this aggregated function. So this is the query requirements. And then what do we have? We have algorithm. So let me go over the algorithm real quick. We're going to create a function that's going to list the invoices and subscribers, and we're going to find subscribers who have not paid for their invoices. and we're going to send them a cancellation notice. So if I go to there, basically this is what I have done. Now if I just explain this code, basically I'll start here, and let's just ignore that X is not really, my project is not failing to build. I don't know why, maybe it's some sort of Eclipse bug, and I will fix that. So basically my project, I've actually created a public repo for this coding project, and basically I have everything you need. You have all the documentations in here, you have the dependency to run it, and which is a MySQL connector. You also have okay, so I'm going to explain this code. Basically, I created like a unit test, I guess, for this method. And basically what I've done is I auto-wired a DB service, and DB service is going to go to MySQL instance and is going to pull the information that you require. Then I have a notification service, and notification service is basically going to do the task of notify the users with expired accounts. So basically in this test method, notify expired accounts test, basically what I have is a list of subscribers. And if I look into my data table, right here, you will see that subscriber is linked. Yeah, this is a model for subscriber, and we're going to pull a list of subscriber. And if I want to relate a subscriber to the email, I will go to, like, subscriber info, and I'll relate that with the ID. So basically what I'll do in my DB service is that I'm going to retrieve all my expired accounts. So retrieve all expired accounts. And what this is going to do is basically, I created a mock of this service, and I just basically just insert a list of subscribers with expired accounts. So basically there's going to be a flag that's going to tell you in the database that if your account is active or expired. I'm only going to query through the values which have expired account values. So and then I'll basically just return that list once I retrieve all that expired account from the database. Is going to like format into a list, and I just create a mock of the list for now. And so it's going to go basically return that list of expired accounts, and once I have that list of expired accounts, I run through a for each loop for every subscriber in my expired accounts. I'm going to go into I'm going to pull a subscriber info, which is another table. I'm going to query through the database and retrieve the subscriber info for each expired account. And each of my expired account is going to have an ID associated with it. So subscriber, I added a get ID, so I can retrieve the ID and retrieve the subscriber info. And then I can basically notify the user, notify expired accounts, and just retrieve the email. So notify service is going to be like some sort of email service. And if I go into the details of my service, basically IDB service is the model, is going to retrieve all expired accounts, is going to be a list. Mods service, subscriber info, retrieve subscriber info. Basically, I'm just going to get the GUID of the ID. Notification service is just going to notify the expired account. It's going to pass in the email, and it's going to run some sort of email task. Mod subscriber is just a model for the subscriber, and it basically has all the parameters for that table. And same thing for subscriber info, just has the parameters of this table. And assign it, I just retrieve the email, and I retrieve the ID from here. Okay, so data, these are just entity generated data. And let's see. And I think that's it. Notification service is not implemented. I just created this, just to mock up the method to make it look how the method would actually look. So I just ran it on test. Okay, so if all of this works, is going to assert true, and basically I'll just keep it in like maybe a try-catch block. And if it's within the try-catch block, it would assert to true, but if it fails at any point, it will assert to false. There we go. And last but not least, there's a flow chart. Okay, my last requirement is to create a process flow that will show how subscribers will change their subscription from free to paid. And basically, how I will handle that, create a flow chart of the business. Like user will request a URL, they will be returned to a welcome page. I will have a check to see that hey, is the user logged in. If not, it will just keep it at the welcome page. If yes, then perform login task. Login task is going to go into the database, and then we're going to check to see if the account is subscribed. If it is subscribed, we're going to return the subscribed content, and this portion is going to be handled somewhere else. If it's not subscribed, we're going to do some tasks here, and I just generalize it, return content with update link option, and this update link option is going to be related to the content provider limitations and such and such. We're going to do an upgrade. If the user does not choose to upgrade, we're going to validate the subscription trial. Like if he's a free user, we're also going to validate that here if his account and trial is valid. If he chooses to upgrade, we're going to input the payment information. We're going to validate the payment information with the payment service API, which is going to be like some sort of bank or something like that. We're going to use their web service API to validate their account information. If all is well, we're going to store that information in the database, and we're going to return the subscribed content. Once the information in the data is in the database, maybe the process of payment can be handled automated, or maybe there's some sort of department that handles billing. So whichever way it is, we're going to that is going to be determined by the business process. Okay, thank you.